Okay, 2025 is almost here, and if you make videos like me, you're probably wondering what to expect next year. Now, I don't want to toot my own horn too much, but in 2024, there were a few things that happened that I totally predicted. And likewise, there was a few things that happened that I don't think anybody could have possibly seen coming. So without further ado, let's talk about the upcoming trends of 2025, starting out with number 1, abnormal typography. Now, let's be clear, there's technically almost an infinite number of different styles, and there's probably going to be at least a couple of people who use each next year. But when it comes to what's on the rise going into 2025, abnormal typography is definitely one that I'm looking out for. Because look, on the surface, it makes sense. As more and more content is getting shoved into the world, it becomes harder and harder in order to stand out. And one of the easiest ways to do that is with text and graphics that your audience has never seen before, because literally no one else has ever seen it before. In some unique cases, because it literally didn't exist until you created it. Whether it's creators making their own typography from squirting sriracha, or using a really niche style of concrete and flowers in your 3D animated text. What this break from traditional typography will allow creators to do is add another dimension to their storytelling and to be able to more clearly convey their message. The whole reason that people put music behind their video is so that you can convey a clear emotional message of how you want your audience to feel. A triumphant score underneath somebody giving an impactful speech can really help to solidify the idea that they're building confidence within their army. But on the flip side, if you literally don't change anything, but you just add in the effect of a turntable losing power, it's signaling the exact opposite effect. And animated text and typography is just another dimension that creators are able to use in order to convey exactly how they want their audiences to feel. So don't be afraid if you start seeing some weird, unique stuff that makes you feel a very specific way. And on that note of niche and weird, another style that I think is going to make a big splash in 2025 is anime style. This is actually one that I wasn't expecting to put in this video until really recently, but I'm even more and more convinced as I continue to think about it. Look, whether you believe it's happening or not, there's a growing concern that Hollywood is dying. Traditional Western storytelling feels like it's really on the decline. And part of that seems to be the sense that production companies and studios are so data-driven and risk-averse that a lot of the creativity is being pushed out of the creative industry. But when it comes to Japanese intellectual properties, that is not at all the sentiment. Taking risks with weird and interesting premises is sort of what Japanese anime is known for. And at the same time, it's becoming something that people are less and less afraid to say that they actually like. It's becoming way more mainstream. And it's not just subjective feeling, it's also some objective measurements. For example, just a couple weeks ago, an episode of Dandadan managed to break the top 100 of highest rated TV episodes of all time, with an IMDb rating of 9.7 with more than 14,000 votes. And this is a show that's considered very weird. This style and form of storytelling is clearly resonating with people, and as its prominence continues to increase and its stigma continues to decrease, it's only natural for it to start impacting other forms of content like short form, YouTube videos, and even paid advertising. I mean, just take a look at this Instagram post from Nike just a few days ago. So whether it's completely over-the-top storytelling, beautifully crafted animations and images, or just a general infusion of Japanese culture, you're gonna see a lot more of this in 2025. Number 3, fake out of home. You might have seen this style popping up a lot on your Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, and TikToks over the last year. But what you might not have known is that it actually has a name. Fake out of home. Basically just a short form for CGI or heavily edited 3D effects happening outdoors. And while this is a trend that already happened and I feel like is losing steam, I feel like the OOH is gonna stick around. But there's some logic behind why I think this is the case. Before the big Mexican beverage event that happened a few years ago, it was pretty rare for people to work from home. Then for a short period of time, everybody did, and now in 2024, moving into 2025, a lot of companies are trying to get the workforce back into the office. And even though working from home isn't technically outside, it still offers the opportunity for you to kind of come and go a little bit more frequently. The perception is that working from home gives you more freedom. And as there's more of a shift of people going back to work in an office setting, that freedom is going to be something that people yearn for. And one of the ways that they're going to get that outlet is through their social media content. So my prediction is that moving into next year, if you want just a quick hack for how to make your content perform better, just make sure that it takes place outside. And by the way, I practice what I preach. This is already something that I've been taking into heart and doing this year. I just think that next year it's going to be even more impactful. Number 4, nostalgic early internet aesthetic. Similar to fake out of home, this nostalgic aesthetic I think is something that people are going to be yearning for a lot this next year. Part of it has to do that when you have really big steps forward, you also have a natural pushback to people wanting to regress to the way that things were before. And in my opinion, the technological antidote to what the future of AI looks like is the early internet aesthetic. aesthetic. As things become more AI, people are gonna want things that are a little bit more analog. Not to mention there are a couple of catalysts happening next year that are gonna help to spur this along. One being the new Minecraft movie coming out, which in and of itself is probably gonna stimulate a lot of this pixelated, blocky, early internet aesthetic. I know that Minecraft itself isn't early internet, it came out back in 2011. But the style in that game actually is a lot of those early internet aesthetics. Very rough, simple textures, really simple blocky geometry. Pair that with the idea that people think we're going into the future too fast, and you've got a recipe for people wanting to dial things back to the way that they used to be. And finally, our last category, AI! Yeah, I'm sorry, you know that we couldn't not talk about AI, whether that's fortunately or unfortunately. Look, I get it, it's everywhere and it's only growing. And as much as I keep saying to myself, it can't get any crazier, it seems like AI has slowly started to seep into the everyday workflow of creatives, whether they realize it or not. How many times have you heard somebody say that they're gonna ask ChatGPT something rather than Googling it? It's definitely growing, especially when you consider the fact that when I Googled something just today, an AI summary was the first thing that popped up on my screen. In the span of just 2 years, we've gone from, hey, this is interesting and clunky, to you can't even escape it if you tried. And I think that's gonna become even more the case in creative work moving into 2025. Adobe's already released their beta for their Generative Extend for Premiere Pro, and they've already announced and showcased their features for Generative Fill for video, which I don't wanna toot my own horn, but I called way before it happened. So I think more and more companies are gonna be getting the memo and start to integrate AI products into their existing packages, maybe without you even knowing. So I think it's a really important opportunity for you to do 2 things. 1, start to get really good at using AI tech, and 2, start to figure out what your personal boundaries are with using AI tech. And I know that might sound strange coming from somebody who's making a video on the channel of a company who actually has AI products. But one thing that came up in my mind personally as this Generative Extend feature from Adobe was starting to be announced is how many news organizations are using Premiere Pro as their daily editor, and does this present the opportunity to showcase video footage of things that technically didn't happen? That being said, I'm not concerned about AI doing damage, quote unquote. I'm way more concerned about our relationship with AI and what it does to our relationships with each other. Photoshop is an amazing, wonderful, incredible tool that's made incredible images that inspire us to do better. And it was simultaneously also the catalyst for a lot of body negativity throughout the world. Tools are not good and bad in and of themselves. I'm really stoked for people to use AI products to make their creative work even better, even faster. And I'm also really excited for people to really start grappling with the fundamental questions about how far is too far. Both of those things are really important in my opinion, and here at Motion Array, we want to be a part of that conversation. So there you have it, guys. Those have been my predictions for what to expect going into 2025. And if you wanted to check out any of the templates that I featured in this video, or any of our other Motion Array assets, I've left a link to each of those in the description down below. And if you wanted a video that goes over the use of AI technology in your creative work, you can check out this video right here. I'll see you over there.